Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chartwise Women with Erin Swenlin and Mary Ellen McGonagle. Welcome to our Thursday show. We are recording this on Wednesday, but this is our Thursday, January 14th show. Mary Ellen and I are here to educate, engage, and most importantly, empower you to take control of your investments. You're the one who needs to be in charge of your money, not someone else. And we want to teach you how to do that the right way. So we have lots to talk about today, but we're going to theme our show today around the healthcare sector. We're going to talk about how you can inoculate your profile, if you will. So we want to show you that, there are a lot of opportunities in this space. And I think this brings us right on into the wisdom of the week. So we'll just get right on going with this. Mary Ellen, how are you doing though?
Yeah, no, doing quite well, hanging in there, just still enjoying this market. There's a lot of pockets of strength that are out there that you can certainly take advantage of, and healthcare is one of them. So for sure, this is going to be a great show. You're going to want to take some notes here because we're going to point out where the pockets of outperformance and strength are, as always, with an eye toward continued outperformance.
Absolutely. So with healthcare being our subject today, the wisdoms of the week are, of course, toward that. Healthcare stocks, so the first one is my wisdom, and healthcare stocks play offense and defense, meaning you can find within that sector, healthcare has conventionally usually been considered a defensive sector. When the market is turning, healthcare is one of those places that we used to turn as a defensive sector. But of course, with the virus and with healthcare, all of these things, innovations and things going on, healthcare now you can play offense with healthcare and defense. So that is my wisdom, which leads us into yours.
Yeah, you bet. And in line with that, mine is talking about these rapid medical advances that are taking place, not just in the land of the COVID-19, but also with cancer and oncology. Two big growth areas. What happened during the Trump administration, he did shorten the FDA approval times and also was very good as far as funding research. So it's really moved some of these advances along. And so there's quite a bit of areas where this innovation is taking place. The markets like what they're seeing. So lots of hot pockets. So we're going to get into that as we move along here.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great one. So let's go ahead and we'll start off with a deep dive into healthcare. So what we'll do is I'm going to show you my sector chart that I have on my decisionpoint.com website. I have it for all of the sectors, but I'm going to look at that sector chart, and then I'm going to pass it to Mary Ellen to look at some of those specific industry groups that she is watching closely within healthcare. So let's go ahead and we'll get right into it here. So this is a chart of XLV, the healthcare ETF spider. And I have marked cardinal tops here on each of those marks there so that we can really examine the indicators that go on underneath. So these are dated as of January 12th because these do not update until well after the close of the market. But I wanted to give you a sense of what is going on in the healthcare sector. There are a few good things, but there's certainly a few bad things as well. So the first thing, obviously, we're getting a bit of a pullback off of this recent top. And that was really, encouraged, if you will, by the very overbought RSI. So this was telling us that price was really very high in with respect to its prior 2-week zone. And when you get really overbought like that, you should start looking for a bit of a pullback or at worst, or at best, a consolidation or a move sideways just to bring that RSI back into the positive territory. So we're back in positive territory. We're not technically overbought right now in healthcare. You can see that momentum is going the direction we want it in. And you can see that volume has come in as well in the sector spider here. And, we could see that it was time for a pullback just by seeing the participation and the volume going down a bit. So it's not a surprise to get this pullback, which, like I said, was definitely necessary. You can't keep going straight up. But what has that done with the indicators? Has it damaged them much? Are we still seeing any issues underneath the surface? So what I have on my website, there are two indicators that I like to follow, and one is called the silver cross and one is called the golden cross. I think most people are familiar with a golden cross. That's when you get that 50-day simple moving average, or EMA, crossing below or above, I'm sorry, the 200-day EMA. So the golden cross means that this many 87.3% of the healthcare index has a golden cross, meaning they're set up very nicely. They have bullish configurations on their chart. We're seeing the participation very high, with stocks having their price above the 20-day EMA, the green right there, and above the 50. Now, these are very overbought readings, but when you're in a nice healthcare, when it goes into a nice rise, you can see that a lot of times it can stay very overbought for a very long time when it's going into a rally phase. So while these are overbought, I'm not particularly concerned, only because we are getting that healthy pullback, if you will. And they're overbought, but not extremely. We've certainly seen higher readings for some of these. So I'm liking what the healthcare sector looks like under the hood. So what are you seeing?
I entirely agree with you, because healthcare really had sat out for quite some time, but we are getting back into the swing of things here. I'm going to go ahead and share my daily chart of the healthcare sector. My MEM Edge report each week, I do cover each sector and talk about not only where that sector is, but how you can capitalize on underlying strength. There's one area in particular that I've identified I'll share with you, but this is quite simply this daily price chart of XLV, as Erin was just going over. And last week, we did see the sector finally break out of this 2-month base. Super heavy volume and quite constructive. Erin, you also talked about overbought, but we are certainly still in good standing as it relates to that. So what I did want to share with you is how you can then access the underlying industry groups. And I'm going to share one group within healthcare that is near and dear to my heart. It is an area that is filled with a lot in the way of innovation, a lot going forward. But here are your sub-industry groups within healthcare. Quite simply, anytime you're looking at a sector, you can go ahead and sort it by this StockCharts technical rating, and it will immediately provide you with an underlying view of the stronger areas within. There's a lot going on in medical supplies, but I'm going to share one of my favorite names in that space before we do that. Let's take a look, because this biotechnology representation that StockCharts is providing you is Dow based and not as vibrant. I like to follow IBB, which is the NASDAQ Biotechnology ETF. It's going to have those faster movers, those more innovative companies that are a part of it, a lot more constructive looking. We are looking at a monthly chart of the NASDAQ Biotechnology ETF. Super, super exciting here, because currently over the last 2 months, bullish action has the biotechs breaking out of this huge 5-year base, taking us back to the end of 2015. Now it's even more than a 5-month base. Historically, the longer your base break out, the longer your advance out of that base. We only simply need to go back to this 08 into 2011 base breakout, and we had a multi-year advance out of there. A lot of this was to doing with DNA type of news that was innovation that was taking place, a lot of big winners, Amgen and so forth. And then, of course, similar to any period that has this big movement, we've sat out, but we are now re-emerging. So, Erin, do I have time to share a couple of names
Oh, why
within?
don't we go into the break and we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at some of those vaccine stocks. But after
Perfect.
that, definitely, I know you have a couple of really great picks
Mm-hmm.
and I have one or two to share as well. So let's go into the break real quick and then we'll come back and start looking more directly at some of the healthcare stocks.
Sounds good.
The goal of the Decision Point show is really to give everybody a good idea of what's going on in the market in general, but we also like to focus it down on some of the major areas of the market that you should know about. We look at dollar, we look at gold, we look at bonds, we look at oil, and then we bring it all together and give you a very quick, easy to look at, know exactly what's going on. But then we also have our bonus material, which is where you get a little bit more of that things that make you go, All right, and we are back from our break. We have been talking about the healthcare sector and looking at some of the strength that we're seeing within that sector. So we thought we would go specifically because everybody is talking about, some of the vaccine related stocks. So we'll look at a few of those, but then we really want to switch gears and we're going to show you some of the stocks within healthcare that we really like, not necessarily because they're vaccine related, but mainly because technically they look really great. But let's go ahead and maybe start with some of those vaccine related stocks.
Very good. Yeah.
Okay. So the first one I want to look at is Moderna. There we go. And you can see Moderna, we have had a great move to the upside, almost parabolic, and then it dropped down to the support level back here, and it's bounced nicely off of that. You can see the momentum is just now shifting to the upside, and the RSI is now positive. I think that this one, not all of the vaccine-related stocks look great. But I think that this is one that I definitely am looking at that I like. One of them, in full disclosure, I did end up entering this one, Pfizer, and I did that yesterday on the dip, but of course, now we're dipping even further. I have this chart really quickly as part of my diamonds, so I want to show it really quickly. So you can see what I was looking at. So we had that momentum shift to the upside. We had right here, you can see that RSI had just gotten positive. We had the breakout of the 20. Everything was really lining up. You had this sort of V-shaped bottom, and now it's not really doing what we want to. But I thought that the nice thing about it was that your stop level down to that 200-day EMA really wouldn't be very deep. So I decided to give it a shot. If it can hold this area of support, I'm going to be very happy. If it doesn't, I might be just going ahead and not waiting until my stop is hit. But Pfizer's certainly not looking quite that good. AstraZeneca would be another one. And this is one I very much like. I like the way, again, you have sort of this V bottom shape or even a reverse head and shoulders, as we call it. And we've gotten the breakout here. The problem is it hasn't really done too much. It needs to do more. It needs to cover this gap. And really, I think the setup for it is about the best we've seen it in some time. So I think that AstraZeneca actually looks a little bit better than Pfizer, which is what I ended up in. So let me pass it to you. I know you have a ton of stuff to share, so I'm going to let you just go to it.
Oh, you bet. So I'm just very quickly going to share one stock that is vaccine related. Actually, I have two names from my MEM Edge report that are peripheral that you might not come to mind immediately. This first one is Becton Dickinson. BDX is the ticker symbol. And the stock, you can see it's advancing quite nicely here. We added it at the end of December after it broke back above these simple moving averages. We have these nice golden crosses, these secondary indicators. Your RSI is positive. This particular company provides injectables and the devices needed to inject the vaccine, and they're reaching record levels as far as the number of vaccines that have been administered. So we can see the stock is in a nice confirmed uptrend here, but it is extended. From here, I'm going to want to put a 5-day simple moving average because the stock is in a period of really moving quite quickly. This gap up on big volume yesterday. So this 5-day is much more relevant as far as a pullback buying opportunity, but it is a little bit overbought. That was one name. Another stock, this has been a big winner for my MEM Edge report, is West Pharmaceutical, also involved in the injectable, not just vaccine related, also COVID-19 treatment related. And I'll share with you because this stock was a triple-digit winner for our MEM Edge report out of here. We did remove the stock when it broke below this 10-week simple moving average, but we did get back in 3 weeks ago as it turned bullish again. We're not shy about revisiting winners. They're winners for a reason. So this stock has this nice base breakout, and it's actually in a very super bullish buy zone right now, pulled right back to that 10-day simple moving average. So as it relates to the vaccine and the ability to actually inoculate individuals, that there are tools that are needed, and these two companies provide those tools. Yeah, a lot of the other stocks I do have are more involved in cutting edge biotechnology.
Well, let's look at them.
Sure. Yeah, let's do that. What I did want to share very quickly, let's see if I can get to that. This is my MEM Edge report. So within healthcare, I'm just highlighting this ARKG has been a big winner, up 43%, but we can take a quick look closer at that because this definitely bears close examination. It is an ETF that is all about genomic revolution. ARKG is the ticker symbol. And we can see here more recently just the really extensive vibrancy, a lot of cutting edge companies in here that are working with genetics. I'm going to share with you a couple of the top holdings within this ETF. This first one is Pacific Biosciences, PACB. The company Arc Genomic, they actually put out calls regarding the various stocks, and they're anticipating a 10 times move from here on this particular stock. They do a lot in the way of genetic analysis, which is very critical. So we can see it's certainly been in an uptrend, but we are getting nice volume characteristics. So I would say on a pullback, look for this particular stock to continue to advance. Another one that is in that ARC Genomics ETF is CRISPR, CRSP. We can see that the stock broke out of this nice 2-month base here in the beginning of December and has continued to advance. This particular company does manufacture and distribute gene-based medicine. One of their bigger items is they can go in and actually modify an individual's DNA so that new medicines can be then absorbed by that individual. So that's super cutting edge in a nice confirmed uptrend. I think I have time for one other stock here that is a big holding among that ARC Genomics. And that is a good way to uncover stocks, to go to those big winning ETFs and see what their holdings are. This is Twist Bioscience, TWST, and they manufacture and sell synthetic DNA. So we can see the stock has a history of having these strong rallies, pulling back and then rallying again. The stock did pull back at the end of December and is now in that rally phase. So just using history as your guide, you may want to wait for another potential pullback as an entry point, but longer term, the stock is in, this is a weekly chart, a very clear-cut uptrend.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely like all of those.
Yeah, very exciting area. I do enjoy digging in. They're doing a lot with, as I mentioned, not just vaccine related, but also with oncology and cancer, the ability to target. It's just really amazing.
Awesome.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I did do a scan, and we have a little time for that before we do our final segment. I did a scan with healthcare in particular and scanned just on that sector. And these were the ones that came up, and I decided I wanted to sort it by industry group. And sure enough, Mary Ellen, it's not a surprise, is it, that the majority are coming from that biotech space.
And what was the screen exactly? I'm sorry.
Sure. I basically took the healthcare sector and I did my regular PMO scan where I'm looking for momentum that is building under the surface where you've got to change. And then I also like to see that those EMAs are locked in a positive configuration because I don't want to get into a beat down stock necessarily. And so that prevents that from happening. So I ran this screen and I did come up with quite a few of them. A lot of small caps, some that were, very low volume, which I'm not very interested in. But interestingly enough, though, in this biotech space, the two that really came out to me because of those high scooter ranks and then Replimune as well. So let's look very quickly at those, and then we'll get into our final segment of, yeah, that happened. All right. So you can see that we had that move. Right now, we had that big breakout off of, it's not technically a double bottom. It sure looks like one, but those are reversal patterns. So technically it wasn't a double bottom, but we did see it break out from there. And now it is pulling back to that support level, which is exactly what I like to see. Granted, the PMO sustained a little bit of damage here in terms of flattening out. But overall, I mean, this still looks pretty good. You've got a flagpole with a flag on it, and it's holding that support level. So we could see it bounce up off of that level. And then the other one, let's see, Replimune was interesting, more of a mid-range scooter value here. And this one I find interesting because you do have a double bottom. It's a little bit of a complex one because the confirmation line's a little bit wacky. But you have these declining bottoms on this double bottom. And then when you look at what's going on with volume on the OBV, we're seeing rising bottoms. So that's a positive divergence. You can see how that 20-day came right down and almost got onto the 50, and then it turned right back up. So it kept that intermediate term buy signal intact. And then look at the RSI is just getting positive. This one sure looks like it could go for a breakout as well.
Yeah.
So
and they're both cancer related, both different. The first one was protein related, but they do both target oncology and cancer treatments.
Yeah, excellent. I think there's one more and then we'll do our, yeah, that happened. All right, so you can see sort of that double bottom sort of configuration. It's not really a double bottom. Mainly we're looking at that rising trend. You can see that momentum, we're just now getting a crossover buy signal here with our momentum. And you've had a positive RSI for quite some time, even with the volatility in here. But I also like this one on that break from the short-term breakout from right up there. And it's continued up. It did get stopped out here at its previous high, all-time high, but ultimately I think this one's looking pretty interesting as well.
Very good. Lots to pick and choose from today.
I know there's so many kid in a candy store kind of thing, right? All right, well, let's go ahead and switch gears to, yeah, that happened. This one, you always find, I always leave it to Mary Ellen to find these stories. She always finds the best stories out there.
It's surprisingly not that difficult with all that's going on. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about this one.
You bet. Yeah, particularly when we can go globally. So this is all about individuals that have lost their passwords to their Bitcoin fortunes. And there are a lot of individuals out there that have millions of dollars riding on trying to find, because Bitcoin is developed, you need to have these keys. These keys are by way of passwords, and they are Bitcoin is set up so that you can't really see the password. It's very tricky. You do need to keep track of it, but this individual has $220 million on the line, and Bitcoin gives you 10 tries. He's tried 8 of them, so he has 2 more tries to get in there. He was given about 7,000 Bitcoin in 2011 as a reward for an animated video, and he just cannot find that password. So, ugh. Yep.
I can't
So,
even.
no, lot on the line there, but let's take a look. I want to share some stocks that are related to this. Certainly one of the first areas that we can go to on StockCharts is the Bitcoin, the currency summary, and we can see some of the moves. The first area that is most widely covered here is this Bitcoin to the US dollar, this parabolic move. It got up to 40,000, is pulling back here more recently, but boy, what a 4-month period run Bitcoin has had. Pretty amazing. And for those of you that are in there enjoying it, congratulations. And there is speculation now that it's going to hit as high as 200,000. But we can take a look at some other stocks, ways that you can potentially play this move into Bitcoin. Both PayPal and Square have developed apps on their platform that allow individuals to buy and sell Bitcoin and even use Bitcoin to pay. So this is PayPal, another nice winning stock for my MEM Edge report. It's poised to break out of this nice secondary base. Just a really nice looking chart with this momentum poised to trade positive here. Another name that we can take a look at has to do with password protection. That's been a big area since the mid-December strike as far as the cyber attack in DC. But this is CyberArk, CYBR. And you can see this is after that mid-December strike, how much the stock had this huge runoff. But it is pulling back very orderly. I have a name on, again, on my MEM Edge list that is in an even better position right now after that run-up. We had put it on prior unknowingly about that attack, but the stock is currently cyber poised at 165 to break out of, again, this secondary base breakout. A lot of bullishness on these cybersecurity stocks given the attack. It's #1 budget for a lot of corporations. Erin, I don't know if you want to take a look at.
Yes, I don't want to leave it on a sad note, but Carl and I wrote an article in Chartwatchers talking about Bitcoin and its current parabolic move to the upside. One of the things I would just, warn people about is that when Bitcoin does decide to drop out of these parabolics, and I'm going to just bring this chart up live. Let's see what it looks like live. There we go. You can see already it's starting to pull back just a little bit. But when you get those vertical moves, obviously they can't be sustained. And what generally happens is you get a quick and painful decline. So you should always be aware when you're in these straight up moves, as much as it looks like it could continue higher, and it certainly could continue higher, just be ready, because when these parabolics break, it can be very painful. And this is, the Bitcoin to the US dollar. So just
buyer beware, huh? So
yes,
I guess,
but at the same time, you look at this and momentum is great and it's not overbought.
Yeah, I would say that PMO is going to be a nice early signal, that black
Absolutely.
line down through the red. So, all right.
Interesting.
Well, keep your passwords in a safe place.
Exactly. All right. I think we have a few more seconds left. Are there any stocks that you're thinking about?
Well, we can look at HACK. That's the ETF for the cybersecurity type of stocks. And that's another exercise. Again, these big, faster moving ETFs, go ahead and take a look at some of their underlying stocks, and you will see CyberArk, even good old Cisco's in there. But that is a way to play it if you're not inclined to dig down and look at individual stocks. But a lot of bullishness centered around cybersecurity going into next year, given that corporations and remote workers want to keep their data secure.
Absolutely. Excellent. It was great having everybody on Chartwise Women today. We invite you to join us every week on Thursdays. Have a great weekend and happy trading.
Hey, Grayson Rose here with StockCharts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, consider giving it a like down below, maybe leave us a comment, and if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe at the link up above. We're gonna bring you daily content from an incredible collection of technical analysts and financial experts.